Welcome back to a bit Gamey and the January update. Back ages ago when I first started this thing, I first started it with Napoleonics, and I'd done it so that they're on three bases of three figures, 60 by 20, and the idea of that was that I could replicate the different historical battalion patterns, so they have Russians or whatever in three lines, and the British in two, and all that kind of thing. But it's it's a very not good way of basing the figures, because it is such a pain moving them around. So I was trying to decide on definite 36 or 24, and in the end, for the French, I had to have 36 for the attack columns, because they just don't look right. Six 40mm bases, 2 by 3, they just don't look meaty enough. So I was kind of pushed into in doing these 36-man French battalions, 36 figures. I didn't want to do that for everything, because it's like it just takes up too much space. If you're doing the British like this, 6 of them is just too much. It just takes up, it's more than a foot. So that's all a bit rubbish. So yes, it's all a bit of a pain. And so I gave up on the Napoleonics, but I bought enough for 3 French battalions, 3 36 figure French battalions, and I'd done 2 of them on the free figure basis, and I had 1 left over. And so the plan for this month was to finish off those Napoleonic figures, not to use them, but just to have them done and in a box, so that at some point in the future, when I got a bigger table, I'd bring them out and carry them on again. But anyway, so that was the idea. I had 36 figures I thought that were left unpainted and sitting there nagging at me. I thought I'd clear them all out in one go, be a result, and that'd be one whole category of X project that is not sitting there waiting to be painted. But so I should be quite pleased, because I did get the 36 done and rebased them in 6 figures, so that's all very neat and good. And and so I could just tap them away. Except what I didn't take into account is I'd also bought a load of spare command figures, and so I had loads of these. Well, not loads, but I had sort of on sort of separate bases for the for a command sprues type deal, and they were on basis of 3, because of my 3 figure basing, and so I just had loads of these left over. So I think I've got 6 pairs of command figures, including loads unpainted. 6 pairs of command figures, which were for command bases, because the idea was, or is, to you split the big battalions up, and add extra command. So for say 36 figures on my small table, that's too much, and so the idea was I was going to have just split them up like that. So each of those would be a battalion, and then have something like and then you have a second command basis to make up. So it starts off as 1 battalion, but it turns into 4 little mini battalions. But I didn't take that into account. So basically, I got rid of those 36 figures, and created a need for another 24. Yeah, because to make these 2-figure command bases into 6-figure ones. So I basically made it worse, or not worse. So it's down 36 and then up 24. So that's basically a disaster. I've actually made it worse because they've got all these command figures that need to be sorted out now. So that's the first thing. And the other thing that I don't know how I did this, but I also got 3 sprues of Warlord Russians. So that's great. I mean, I was thinking of doing a kind of Borodino type deal, but and I guess I must have got these by mistake. I was meant to get more French, you know, to make up for the command bases. But so yeah, so I've discovered after doing it that, you know, going down 36 figures, I need another 24 just to do command bases. Because I say I've got a whole bunch of these command figures, so I need another 24 to do the French command, which is, you know, kind of grinding, because you sort of think if you're going to do 24, you might as well just do, you know, you're tempted to do 72 just to get the to turn those 3 bases of command figures, or starting to turn the command figures into 3 bases will take 24 new figures, but turn them into 3 battalions takes another 72. So, you know, I've just made it worse. And also the 12 Russians. I mean, that's good. I did want to do Russians. That's probably why I got these by mistake. So I also need another 24, or either 12 or 24 figures for the Russian battalion as well. So say definitely gone backwards. Did 36 and discovered I needed another, I don't know what it is, 36 or 48 or 80, 90, whatever it is. So long story short, I just made it all worse. But so it's like I can't be pleased in a way, because even though I'm pleased at getting that 36 done, I've discovered I've made it worse for myself in the long run, because I need more. So yeah, so it's basically another disaster. You know, it was an X project that's been made worse by not thinking it through. So there we go. So I should be disappointed. I'm not really disappointed, because I do like this basing scheme for the French anyway. You know, the 36 in an attack column, because, you know, when I look at these you know, from a historical point of view, I tend to focus on the protagonists first, or mostly. So it's, you know, French for the, so it's like, you know, Greek or Roman for the ancients, and German for the World War II, and French for the Napoleonic. So I don't know. It's a funny thing, because I do like looking at them. If I can get them out and just look at them, you can just it's part of the whole visual thing. Is that I can imagine them all marching along, you know, on the tabletop. But they're too big for my table. And yeah, what can I say? But so I'm half pleased, because looking at them is just great. But you know, it's technically it's a disaster. So I did do the other 2 battalions as well, on their 6-figure bases, and, you know, touched them up, because I did them right at the beginning, and so they're, you know, painted worse than I paint now. So they get a little bit of touching up and basing. So, you know, in terms of progress, sort of technically progress, I suppose. But yeah, what to do? So I got. I mean, it's like, oh, I don't know. It's like more than 100 figures, and it's just 3 battalions. It's oh, I don't know. I kind of cringe, but at the same time, I just like looking at them. I could just, you know, when you put one on a table and a few trees and that thrown around, they just look. I don't know. I just think that the attack battalion formation just looks great like that, and it doesn't look scary enough on 40mm bases. It's got to be 60 for me, or 2 lots of 60. So anyway, blah 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 blah. That was it's a kind of a disaster, but at the same time, really cool. So what can you say? So the other thing I did, which is also um, kind of an X project, so not exactly progress at all, but because I got bored painting. That's the big trouble in these big battalions, is I get bored doing 36 the same figures. So I'd take little breaks along the way to do whatever, and to experimenting with this game colour, because I mostly use Vallejo model colour with bits of Citadel and Army paint they're thrown in. But I thought, I wanted to have a look at the game colours to see what they were like. I mean, the impression I had was that they were designed more for fantasy figures. Because the Vallejo range, they all suit particular kind of World War II-ish type, or no, historical type periods. But you kind of feel that you want slightly flashier colours for fantasy. So I got three of them. I got this orange, green, and a ghostly grey, and just so I bought all these figures. I had this phase where I was going to do Frostgrave, and so I started buying all these little monsters to fit the Frostgrave random encounters. But then I got carried away rather drastically. I ended up buying. I bought tons. I don't know why. Because I played D&D like 4 years ago, and I haven't played it since. But I just got, via Frostgrave, I just got the itch to, and I started buying these bloody figures. I got I'd got no idea when I'm going to use them or if I'm going to use them. But anyway, I had them, so I wanted to paint them just because, and I wanted to use these weird colours. So the little green impy things or orange impy things, and on these giant leeches, there's the orange and green again. So, and the ghostly grey for these. So these are Reaper. The ghosts are Reaper. I can't remember the names. One was a cairn thing, I think. A kind of whatever. And that one was just a ghost. But anyway, so that's using that ghostly grey paint. I like it. And these ones were from Otherworld, which is kind of one of my favourite places for fantasy stuff. Giant leeches, little toofies. These are from Wizkids. They're kind of imps, I think. Imp type creatures. And then these two were a couple of Frostgrave figures that I got to be I think they're cultist champions or something. But basically baddies, basically. So anyway, these are not well painted or anything, and they're not technically finished because I haven't decided yet on what I'm going to use for the on what or if I'm going to use something for the bases. I'm thinking about getting another one of those Geek Gamers basing packs. I haven't decided which ones yet, but yeah, so very simple, very basic, but that's a whole bunch done. It's like 10 or so. Yeah, so I'm kind of pleased. It's completely pointless because I haven't got anything to do with them, but I just want to get them painted. Yeah, so do we. So that was a month of no progress really. I mean, it is technically progress in terms of clearing my lead pile, or in this case plastic pile, but not very progress, not a lot of progress really. But it wasn't a lot of fun at the time because, as I say, 36 of those French, all the same. But I'm quite pleased. Well, I'm half pleased at the end because apart from finding out I've got another dozens more to do. Well, so I'm going to do the French command bases like one pair at a time. So I need 8 figures. So each pair has got 4 figures, and so I need another 8 to make up the 2 6-man bases. So I've got one set of that ordered already, and I'm just going to do that occasionally. I'm just going to get to do 2 bases at a time. and then think of how to do the Russians. So it's semi progress, but not really. And these ones I like. I mean, you know, I've got no use for them yet, but I will eventually have to make up something for them, just because to use them. But yeah, whatever. Ramble. That's yeah, that's my progress or non-progress for the month. So what's next? I've got to get my finger out and do the last 3 battalions of French line infantry for the War of Spanish Succession. You know, that should feel a lot less. That should feel less painful after doing 36 figures in the French battalion. Third thing is, you know, a bunch of figures I was fiddling about with in between doing all the French. It's all these Frostgrave / D&D / fantasy figures that I got on impulse ages ago. I want to finish painting up, and then so a lot of them are mostly done, but not completely. And I've got to decide on the basing. Plus, there's a French battalion commander for my Napoleonic French. So basically, you know, this is not pointless, but it's, you know, it's all for stuff that are X projects that I just got loads of figures for in the past that need I just want them, you know, finished, painted, and tucked away in kind of long-term storage. So you know, that's not very inspiring, but you know, say la vie. And the you know, third or fourth thing, I don't know. I had a load of these 60 by 20 bases that I got for when I was originally doing the Napoleonics on 3 figure bases. So I got loads of them, and so I was deciding, okay, what can I do with them now that I'm not doing the those bases? And so I kind of decided on doing this for the War of Spanish Succession, kind of gabion defences. Because a couple of battles where they had they were building these kind of field fortifications. I mean, that it didn't look like that, I don't think, but you know, that's going to be my my version of it. I already done a couple or 3 bases like that, but they're roughly 4 inches, so that's only a foot, and you know, I want, you know, at least 2 foot. So I'm going to do a bunch more of bases, you know, like this. Going to use them as like planks or whatever, next to gabions, and I've got to think of something else to do with the rest because I've got loads. So I'm thinking maybe of doing some kind of building using them. I'm not sure how exactly, but I'll use them like try and make a barn out of it or something, unless I get some other ideas. So yeah, I'm going to do some you know, simple, you know, just stick them all together and then, you know, prime and paint them wood colour, and that will be my War of Spanish Succession barricade fortification type things. So that's the 4 projects, 4 kind of sub projects for February. I may change my mind on that. You shall see. Oh, and the 5th thing is that I plan to, but still haven't started yet, was my fantasy Sicily campaign, and that it's going to follow the same historical basis of you know, the actual Norman conquest of Sicily, but I'm going to be using fancy figures because I just bought loads of them back when I was going to do Frostgrave, and you know, I can still do Frostgrave. It's just I'm going to make them into little armies instead. So I might do that. Might be doing some cultists. Yeah, I don't know. It's all mad, all whatever. But it's it's not really fun because you're doing stuff that's not going to be used. But it's semi-fun. It's like those French figures. They do look good. They do look good, and so you can get a certain amount of entertainment just by bringing them out and putting them on a table and just looking at them, because it sets your imagination off. You can imagine them marching through and all the drums and all the shit. So not bad, even though it's not good. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble. So, toodle pip.